We all say we want to be happy, but here is an uncomfortable truth. Most of us are chasing happiness in completely the wrong direction. Science has spent decades proving exactly why. Today we break down what happiness actually is, why your instincts about it are probably wrong, and what research says actually works. The word happiness is actually pretty useless as a scientific concept. It means different things to different people. Psychologists solved this by replacing it with something precise: subjective well-being. 3 ingredients: positive emotions, low negative emotions, and life satisfaction. This distinction matters more than most people realize. Here is the biggest finding in happiness research. Scientist Sonia Lyubomirsky discovered our happiness is roughly 50% genetic set point, 10% life circumstances like job and income, and 40% intentional daily choices. That 40% is where your real power lies. Psychologist Tal Ben-Shahar calls it the arrival fallacy. We convince ourselves we will be happy when we get the promotion, when we lose the weight, when we find the right relationship. But the research is clear: after major achievements, people return to their emotional baseline surprisingly quickly. The destination never delivers what we expected. This happens because of hedonic adaptation, perhaps the most important psychological principle you have never heard of. Our brains are wired to return to a happiness baseline no matter what happens. Lottery winners within a year report similar happiness levels to before their win. We adapt up and down constantly. This is why more rarely equals happier. So if achievements do not do it, what does? The Harvard study of adult development tracked 724 men for 80 years, the longest happiness study ever conducted. Their conclusion was clear: the quality of your relationships is the single biggest predictor of happiness and health. Not wealth, not fame, not achievements. Connection. Dr. Robert Waldinger, who leads the Harvard study, says, "Good relationships keep us happier and healthier, period." The loneliest people experienced earlier health decline and death, and depth mattered more than the number of relationships. One deep, secure connection protects your brain and body more powerfully than dozens of shallow ones. Psychologist Mihaly Csikszentmihalyi spent decades studying flow, the state of total absorption in a challenging task. Athletes call it being in the zone. What he found was remarkable: people are actually happier during flow states than during passive leisure. Scrolling your phone feels relaxing, but research shows it is quietly making you more miserable. One of the most replicated findings in positive psychology. Gratitude works. In a landmark study, people who wrote down 3 good things that happened each day and why they happened showed measurable well-being increases after just 1 week, and the benefits lasted for months after they stopped. 3 things. Why they happened. That is the entire practice. Social comparison is hardwired into us. We evolved to monitor our standing in the group. Social media weaponizes this instinct. Every time you scroll, you are comparing your behind the scenes with everyone else's highlight reel. Research consistently shows that passive scrolling is linked to lower happiness and higher depression rates across all age groups. The Japanese concept of ikigai, your reason for being, points to something science confirms: purpose extends life. People with a strong sense of purpose live longer and recover faster from illness. And purpose does not have to be grand. Research shows it can come from any meaningful activity: raising children, building something, helping others. Martin Seligman, founder of positive psychology, developed a model of flourishing called PERMA. Positive emotions, engagement through flow, relationships, meaning and purpose, and accomplishment through meaningful goals. Happiness is not something you achieve once. It is a collection of practices you maintain consistently over time. Here is the final paradox that ties everything together. Research found that people who actively pursue happiness as a goal tend to be less happy than those who do not. Monitoring your own happiness, asking yourself, "Am I happy yet?" creates a gap that makes you feel worse. Happiness is a byproduct of living well. It is not the target. It is what happens when you stop chasing it. One of the most powerful happiness interventions is also the simplest: acts of kindness. Research found that performing 5 acts of kindness on a single day produced more well-being than spreading them throughout the week. Giving time and attention to others activates reward systems in your brain and creates lasting positive emotion that benefits the giver as much as the receiver. Here is what most happiness advice gets wrong. Trying to feel happy all the time makes you less happy. Research shows that accepting and processing negative emotions leads to better long-term well-being than suppressing them. Happiness is not the absence of sadness. It is the ability to experience the full range of emotions without being controlled by any of them. So here is what science actually says. Happiness is not about achieving more. That 40% of intentional choices is where your power lies. Invest in deep relationships, practice daily gratitude. Find flow in challenging work, seek purpose, be kind, and stop chasing happiness itself, because it is the byproduct of a life well lived. Subscribe to Mind Decoded for more evidence-based psychology every week.